you are insulted in public. Your blood rises, your tongue rushes ahead of your mind, and you trade dignity for immediacy. Today, we end that weakness. We will learn how to turn every insult into leverage, every attack into information, and every enemy into either a useful subordinate or a quiet memory. This is how Machiavelli would handle insults, not with emotion, but with strategy. In courts and companies, in families and forums, men reveal themselves most clearly when they insult you. The insult is not merely a word. It is a probe, a test, a declaration of territory. To respond like a common man is to accept the frame of the offender. To respond like a prince is to redesign the battlefield. Listen closely. The wise do not fight every war. They choose the wars that crown them. You have just been insulted. A man speaks out of turn, questions your worth, slanders your name, or throws a petty remark to dent your image. You feel it immediately, like a cold sting in the gut. Your instinct, as with most people, is to retaliate, to defend, to explain, to strike back. But that instinct, that raw urge to react emotionally, is exactly what your enemy wants. That is the first trap. In the game of power, insults are not simply words. They are probes, tactical tests. They are like a knife jabbed near your armor to test where you flinch. If you react, you reveal. And when you reveal, you surrender control. This is the point where most men lose. But the Machiavellian mind sees further. It understands that silence, when wielded correctly, is not passivity. It is dominance. It is warfare disguised as stillness. Controlled silence is not merely the absence of words. It is a strategic move that unsettles the attacker. It throws them into doubt. Was the insult ineffective? Did it miss? Or worse, have they just provoked a predator too dangerous to wake? Your silence makes them question their action. It bounces their insult back like a mirror reflecting their own insecurity. And while they spiral inward, you remain untouchable. Imagine this: a court noble throws a snide remark your way at a banquet. The crowd turns to you, anticipating your response. Your eyes meet his, but you do not blink, you do not smirk, you do not sneer. You hold the gaze. Then you simply continue sipping your wine. That silence, loaded with self-control, speaks louder than any retort. It tells the entire room one thing: this man is beneath my reaction. It frames the insulter not as powerful, but as a clown who performed for no applause. You have not just preserved your image, you've elevated it. But why is this so powerful? Because silence is unnatural in moments of humiliation. It requires immense inner power to withhold reaction. And the stronger your silence, the more it hints that you are playing a deeper game, a game the other does not even understand. People fear what they do not understand. They fear those who do not flinch, do not explain, do not justify. That fear becomes your protection. Niccolò Machiavelli himself once wrote that, "It is better to be feared than loved, if one cannot be both." And silence, used well, can make others fear the unknown in you. That is the beginning of dominance. There is also another dimension. Timing. A delayed response, or no response at all, throws the enemy off rhythm. In politics, as in life, rhythm is power. If they insult and you immediately strike back, they control the tempo. They lead. But if you do not respond, they become uneasy, they wait, they wander. You now control the tempo. You force them to react, over and over, until they become the fool trapped in their own performance. You might ask, but what if my silence is taken as weakness? That is a fair question. But here is the true thing. Silence only appears weak when it is paired with insecurity. If you remain silent while avoiding eye contact, fidgeting, shrinking, then yes, you look defeated. But if your silence is paired with stillness, with calm poise, with an expression of indifference or quiet amusement, you appear more powerful than any man who shouts. Power, after all, is not just shown through force. It is shown through restraint. Even in war, generals understand this. A commander who does not respond to a provocation is not surrendering. He is calculating. He waits until the enemy overextends, exposes himself, becomes vulnerable. And then he strikes, once decisively. That is how a lion hunts. Not with frenzy, but with calm precision. Be that lion. Think of every insult not as a wound, but as bait. Do not bite unless it serves your long game. When they insult you, they think they are hurting you. But what they don't realize is they are revealing their strategy, their character, their insecurities. While they speak, you observe, and what you learn in silence becomes your power. Information is a currency, and in insult, fools often spend far too much. In courts, in corporate rooms, in relationships, remember this: the man who does not speak when provoked is either broken or calculating. Let them wonder which one you are, because when you wield silence like a sword, even your stillness cuts. When a man insults you, he believes he has drawn blood. But more often than not, what he's really done is cut open his own skin. His insult is not about you. It is a reflection of his own fears, his insecurities, his need to displace power because he lacks it himself. What appears on the surface to be an attack is almost always a confession. But only the wise recognize it, and only the powerful know how to turn that confession into advantage. Let me explain. The average man, when insulted, scrambles to defend. He shouts, he argues, he justifies. And in doing so, he accepts the frame set by the attacker. He enters a room the enemy has already furnished. And worse, he confirms the insulter's position as the one who controls the narrative. But what if, instead of defending, you turn the situation back on them? What if, with a few words, or even a well-placed pause, you revealed that the insult wasn't about you at all, but about them? This is where you gain power. This is where you shift the battlefield. Understand, these insults are often disguised signals of envy. When they say you're too ambitious, what they often mean is, I wish I had your courage. When they call you cold or ruthless, they are revealing how threatened they are by your ability to act without emotional paralysis. When they say you think you're better than others, they are voicing their own feelings of inferiority. But if you respond emotionally, you lose the chance to expose the truth. And exposing truth is how you control perception. Let me give you the lens when someone insults you. Instead of recoiling, lean in with interest. Don't defend, simply observe. And then, calmly, without aggression, ask, what outcome were you hoping for by saying that? The brilliance of this question is that it shifts the burden. Now, they are on trial. They must explain themselves. They must climb out of the emotional hole they just dug. And most of the time, they can't. Why? Because most insults are impulsive. They're driven by ego, not reason. And when you ask someone to explain a moment driven by ego in the language of logic, they flail. You have now reframed the moment. The audience no longer sees you as the target. They see you as the composed one, the one who commands tone, the one who doesn't need to defend because his position is untouchable. And what of the audience? Yes, the silent witnesses. They are always there. Even if only one person insults you, 10 others are watching your reaction. They are studying you, measuring you, deciding in real time whether you are worthy of respect or ridicule. If you react with rage or wounded pride, you confirm the insult. If you remain calm, or better yet, show subtle amusement, you reverse the spotlight. The insulter becomes the one who looks insecure, unstable, emotional. That, my friend, is the turning of the mirror. There is an art to this, of course. You must not mock too directly, for that reveals your own insecurity. You must not show anger, for that shows weakness. What you show is curiosity, calm detachment, and underneath it all, quiet dominance. As if to say, you are not capable of shaking me, but I am fascinated that you tried. Imagine this scene: a rival calls you arrogant in front of others. You don't flinch. You meet his eyes and say softly, I've noticed that people often confuse clarity for arrogance. Then pause. Just a beat, let it sink in. Now he must either double down, revealing more of his resentment, or stay silent, beaten at his own game. Either way, you win. The truth is, these insults are a form of currency, but most people spend it foolishly. They use it to buy temporary attention, not knowing that in doing so, they are revealing the contents of their heart. The Machiavellian mind collects these moments. Each insult is a page in the attacker's diary. You begin to know them better than they know themselves. Their fears, their obsessions, their emotional triggers. This is not just defense. It is intelligence gathering. You must learn to take pleasure in the unraveling, in watching their masks slip, in holding up the mirror while they speak, and seeing the exact moment they realize their insult has not wounded you. It has exposed them. You have not played the victim. You have not even played the hero. You have played the judge, and the courtroom was theirs to enter the moment they opened their mouth. No retaliation, no apology, just precision, just power. There are moments when silence is no longer enough, when the insult has crossed a line, when restraint no longer protects your power, but threatens to erode it. In these rare but crucial moments, the Machiavellian mind knows exactly what must be done in not a war, not a storm of reaction, but a single surgical strike. Clean, controllable. Understand this well, the powerful do not throw tantrums. They do not scream across rooms or flood their enemies with emotion. That is what the weak do when they feel invisible. The powerful wait. They calculate. They let the attackers speak, let them dig, let them perform. And then they strike once, with such precision that the room goes silent. That is the moment the game ends. When you choose to respond, you do not do it for the attacker. You do it for the audience. Because every insult is a performance, and every performance has an audience watching. It is they who must be impressed. Not with fury, but with control, with intelligence, with style. You want them to say, "He didn't just win that exchange. He ended it." The goal is deterrence, not debate. You are not there to argue your worth. You are there to raise the cost of attacking you so high that no one dares try it again. You make an example, not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. Because if you allow even one open one to bleed unchecked, others will smell it, and the next insult will be sharper. The next attack more daring. You must teach them once, and only once, that if they choose to test you, there will be no rematch. But here's where most fail: they attack too soon, or too emotionally, or too often. The Machiavellian mind waits. It listens. It notes patterns. It gives rope. Because when you strike, you must do so with facts, with calm exposure, not with insults of your own. You do not descend into their level. You pull them up to yours, and then drop them from a greater height. Let's say someone repeatedly undermines you in public, mocking your decisions, questioning your competence. You stay silent once, twice, maybe 3 times, and all the while you collect. You let them show their pattern. And then, when the moment is right, when the audience is present, when the stakes are clear, you step forward, and you say, not with venom but with surgical calm, "It's interesting that you often criticize results you've never produced." And no insult, just exposure. It lands like thunder because it's not emotional, loud. It's clean. And the silence that follows does all the talking for you. Remember, your words must be final, not open-ended, not debatable. A single line that feels like a closing door, not an open invitation to spar. It must say, "This conversation is over, and so is your attempt to rise." You see, the mistake many make is thinking that power is about constant confrontation. It is not. True power is about control over consequence. When you strike, you do it to leave a mark, not to vent. You do it in a way that echoes long after the moment has passed. And to do that, you must strike only when the conditions serve your image. If it is private, make it public. If it is rushed, delay it. If it is small, amplify it. Because a precise strike is not only about the blow, it's about the stage you deliver it on. And always, make sure your audience witnesses your composure, your calm face, your level voice. These things matter more than the content itself. In moments of conflict, people follow posture. If you are calm, you are king. If you are emotional, you are equal. Or worse, a pawn reacting to the board rather than controlling it. Now, there are times when your strike is not verbal at all. Sometimes you withdraw support. Sometimes you expose data. Sometimes you make a single fall that rearranges power behind the scenes. The visible strike is only one option, But it must always carry this signature. It is intentional, it is efficient, and it changes the air in the room. When the dust settles, the crowd remembers only two things: who stood calm and who stood foolish. If you strike right, they will not remember the insult. They will remember your response. And in that memory, your legend grows. There will always be men who insult you, but there will not always be men who are believed when they do. That is the difference between a powerful man and a vulnerable one. The difference is reputation. Reputation is not merely what people think of you. It is what they expect from you, what they assume about you before you ever speak, and what they whisper about you when you're not in the room. It is your first sword and your final shield. To the wise, reputation is armor that makes insults bounce off before they even land. And to the foolish, it is an afterthought, something to be defended after it's attacked. But that is a fatal mistake. You do not build your reputation during conflict. You build it before conflict ever arrives. You build it like a fortress, brick by brick, layer by layer. Every action you take, every word you allow into public memory, these are stones. And one day, that structure will either shatter you or collapse on top of you. Ask yourself this when someone hears your name: what immediate feeling do they associate with it? Do they feel caution? Do they feel trust? Do they feel uncertainty? If they feel nothing, then you have already lost the first war. A man with no reputation is a man with no leverage. He must start from zero in every room he enters. And the moment someone insults him, people consider, just maybe. It's true, but when your name is strong, everything changes. If someone tries to undermine you, it feels unbelievable. People instinctively reject the insult, not because you spoke, but because your history speaks for you. Your name walks into the room before you do. And that is power. You must become known for something specific, something undeniable. For some, it is competence. For others, decisiveness. For a few, it is the dangerous combination of silence and consequence. Whatever it is, build it deliberately. Reinforce it daily. Make sure it is backed by action, not just talk. Because if your name is merely a collection of words without a foundation of deeds, it is not reputation. It is theater, and theater collapses under pressure. Reputation does not. Now, the secret most never understand is this: reputation is not built in grand moments. It is built in the small, consistent decisions that most people ignore. The way you handle a minor mistake, the way you deal with gossip, the way you carry yourself when no one seems to be watching. These details are recorded quietly by those around you, and over time, they build a pattern. People trust patterns more than promises. Think of the general who wins battles, not because he speaks loudly in the war room, but because he has always won. His name becomes a prophecy. When he takes command, men believe victory is coming, not because he says it will, but because history suggests it will. That belief becomes a force. It boosts loyalty, it silences doubt, and it crushes opposition before it begins. This is what reputation buys you: predictable loyalty and invisible protection. Now, let's speak of restraint, because this too is part of your reputation. Power that screams is cheap. Power that whispers and still gets obedience. That is rare. You want to be known as the man who could destroy someone, but rarely needs to. The man who does not react emotionally, but who never forgets. A man who responds once, but with such finality that the room remembers. You see, when you respond to insults with reckless emotion, you create two wounds, one in yourself and one in your name. But when you restrain yourself, when you choose your moment, when you act deliberately, your reputation expands. People begin to say, he doesn't waste words. He doesn't waste energy. But when he moves, everything changes. That becomes legend. And legend is stronger than truth. You must also guard your name in the company you keep. Surround yourself with those who amplify your strength, not those who undermine it. If your allies are weak, foolish, loud, unpredictable, they reflect upon you. And no one separates the man from his circle. Your court, your company, your companions. They are part of your public image. Choose them as carefully as you choose your words. And one more thing, reputation is not about being liked, it is about being known, respected, anticipated, even feared when necessary. If everyone loves you, it means you have never drawn a line. If everyone hates you, you have lost control. But if people say, be careful around him, he's smart, he's dangerous, he's always 2 steps ahead, then you have succeeded. Because when you are known for clarity, for control, and for consequence, insults stop coming. Not because people admire you, but because they calculate the price. Every insult carries data. The insult may sting, but to the Machiavellian mind, the sting is irrelevant. What matters is the source, the timing, the context, and the motive, because the man who insults you is not simply expressing disdain. He is revealing his hand, his position, his desire, his weakness. And if you're truly paying attention, you'll see that the insult itself is the smallest part of the exchange. What follows, what surrounds it, what drives it, that is the gold. This is where others fail. They get caught in the emotional reaction, so they miss the deeper message. But a prince must see through masks. He must treat insults not as threats, but as signals, indicators of shifting loyalties, hidden resentments, fragile egos, and rival ambitions. Every insult is like a torch briefly lighting up the face of your enemy. If you are wise, you remember the shape of that face long after the light fades. So when they insult you, don't just hear the words. Ask why now? Why here? Who is watching? What do they gain by doing this? What do they think they know about me that gives them confidence to strike? These questions matter more than any verbal counterattack. Because once you understand the logic behind the insult, you control the frame. You don't merely survive the insult, you weaponize it. Sometimes the insult comes from a place of testing. The attacker wants to see how far they can push you. Whether your calm is genuine or just a mask. Whether your power is real or borrowed. They are trying to define the limits of your influence. This is why your response must be measured, not soft measured. If you punish too early, you show insecurity. If you wait too long, you signal weakness. But if you respond with calibrated silence or strategic consequence, they begin to see, but this man may be quiet, but he is not asleep. What you must do is build a ledger quietly. Every insult is logged, every betrayal noted, every shift in tone, every sarcastic glance, every careless word when they think you're not listening. It all goes in the book. Not because you are petty, but because you are building a map of loyalty, a map of danger, and a map of opportunity. Because here's the secret few understand. Some of your enemies can be turned. Yes, even the ones who might hate you. Sometimes an insult is not about hatred. It's about confusion, or fear, or jealousy. It's about someone trying to find their place, unsure whether to follow you or fight you. If you can read that correctly, you can pull them in, offer them a role, a place, a responsibility. Make them part of your system. And once they are inside your world, their energy is no longer destructive. It is controlled, it is useful. But others must be exiled, not loudly, not theatrically. You do not need to declare war. You simply stop inviting them. You stop feeding them. You remove access. Their name disappears from your table. Their voice fades from your councils. And just like that, they go from player to ghost. And no one mourns their absence. Because by then, everyone saw the warning signs. Everyone saw who they were. You simply acted last. This is how Machiavelli viewed insulting, not as something to retaliate against, but as a symptom to diagnose. A prince does not swat at every fly. He observes which flies return, which ones bite, and which ones are simply attracted to light. Then he decides whether to swat or to replace the light altogether. And let's not forget the audience. There are always eyes watching. People you consider neutral are constantly scanning the board, wondering who will rise and who will fall. Your ability to remain composed in the face of insult signals strength. Your ability to convert insult into strategic knowledge signals intelligence. But your ability to do both, without ever looking rushed, emotional, or reactive, that signals leadership. That signals fear. That signals a man who sees the whole board and moves not piece by piece but plan by plan. So when the insult comes, and it will, do not panic, do not flinch, do not rush to strike, stand still. Let the attacker show himself. Watch who laughs. Watch who stays silent. Watch who suddenly looks to the floor. These are the tells. This is the intelligence. This is what the average man misses while he's busy defending his pride. Let them believe you did nothing. Let them think their words landed. Meanwhile, you're already calculating the next 5 moves, because when you act, it won't be a reaction. It will be a conclusion, a verdict they walked into themselves. You have now seen the anatomy of the insulting, the probe, the mask, the test, the trap. You have learned to meet it first with silence, then with vision, then, if necessary, with a single, decisive stroke. You have learned to build a name so fortified that petty words die on impact, and to treat every attack not as pain, but as data. This is not reaction, this is rule. Remember, the weak man wants to win the moment, the strong man wants to own the stage. The weak man argues, the strong man frames. The weak man bleeds publicly, the strong man studies quietly and punishes once. Power is not loud. Power is not frantic. Power is the stillness that makes others calculate before they move and doubt before they speak. From this day forward, an insult is no longer a wound, it is a mirror. Let others expose themselves. Let them reveal loyalties, reveal envies, reveal fears. You will not rush to correct them. You will not scramble for approval. You will make your presence so composed, your reputation so heavy, and your responses so rare that even your silence becomes a sentence. Do not seek to be the man who always has the last word. Seek to be the man for whom no word is needed. The room already knows. The ledger is already written. The audience already understands who is in control. Not because he shouted, but because he didn't have to. Walk away from this not as a defender of your ego, but as an architect of your power. Insults are noise. Your strategy is music. Write it so precisely that even your enemies learn the rhythm. And when you do speak, once, coldly, finally, let it not be to prove yourself, but to remind the world that you were never theirs to measure.